Modern law, and business stronger. Father law, all I'm fine.
Hello again. This is Bunton Cole with A Vision for Africa. In this episode 6, we'll continue with the spread of religion, commerce and arts in Africa, the great cities of Africa, and the coming of the Portuguese to Africa and their failed attempts at colonization through trade and religion in East Africa between the 11th and the 16th centuries. This series of the history of Africa is based on the BBC series Africa's Great Civilizations, compiled and presented by Professor Henry Louis Gates, Jr. on BBC Channel 4. We'll start with the Swahili Age. Knowledge and evidence of Africa's great cities of the Golden Age redefined how the world sees Africa from the dark continent to the continent of highly organized and sophisticated cities with trade routes that linked producers to buyers. Azania in Swahili country, East Africa, Zanzibar, 45 miles east of Tanzania, still endures vibrantly as a trading center till today. Export commodities include spice, ivory, and gold. Between 800 and 1600 AD, East Africa exported an estimated 500 tons of gold valued today at $25 billion. The countries that were involved in East Africa's trading area extended 1,800 miles from Somalia down to Mozambique. East Africa's trans-Pacific trade was from East Africa to India, Arabia, and China, powered by the monsoon winds that blows in opposite direction at different seasons of the year. The vessels used for the long Pacific Ocean was the dhow, a masted Arab sailing ship. Islam was the prevailing religion and gave the Swahili elite both religion and entry into trade between East Africa and the Far East. The trade language developed by the East African Swahili traders was P-Swahili, a mixture of Arabic and native dialect. Islam also brought Arabic literacy and facilitated cultural integration between Arabic and Swahili and religious values and practices to East Africa. The necessity to read the Quran facilitated the learning of the Quranic alphabet and the writing of poetry and history. This Arabic education and trade language and activities contributed to the unique Swahili culture. Civilization along the Swahili coast led to the emergence of the city of Kilwa south of Zanzibar. In 1331, Ibn Battuta, a great Muslim explorer and writer, wrote that Kilwa was one of the most beautiful and well-constructed towns in the whole world. Today, Kilwa's ruins testify to its past glory. In 1667, the English poet John Milton described Kilwa as one of the world's great kingdoms in his poem Paradise Lost. Kilwa's ideal location for trade gave rise to its glory. One of the largest mosques in the whole of Sub-Sahara was built in Kiliwa in the 14th century. Kiliwa's great ruler, Sultan Al-Hassan ben Suleiman, built and in the Great Kiliwa Palace, built between 1315 and 1330, some great structures. The Sultan was said to be the father of gifts and described by Ibn Battuta as a pious and humble man. Let's listen to a song I wrote about the responsibilities we Africans must take and embrace in our efforts to make a brighter future for Africa before I proceed on to Zimbabwe and her role as one of Africa's great cities and trading centers. Sit back and enjoy responsibility.
I should be the top. I remember when things were sweet not Tell him, I'm not be no something but you not I should be the top. Then is the name of the problem we campaign. Tell me. Some they blame Sally they blame me. I beg you, do ya tell me why? We get we country, we left and let it go. Oh God, I beg you, do ya help we make back home and left for blame. Left for blame we compete them. Let we take responsibility for we continent. Oh Lord, I beg you, oh, do ya? Uncle they blame auntie they blame cousin, no. Waiting they happen, no. Do ya tell me? Typhoid. tell me, I beg you. Do ya tell me why? Tell me, if not to Kwame. Tell me, if not to Milton. If not to Albert. Tell me, if not to Shaki. If not to Shaku. Oh Lord, waiting up into we sweet, sweet paradise. Africa, don't turn to Babylon. Do ya tell me why I beg go? If not to Indiamana. Tell me, if not to Libanese. If not to Fulaman. If not to Chinaman. Do ya tell me? Let we left for problem and we campaign and take responsibility for we country.
I hope you enjoyed that. Now to Zimbabwe. Another great and wealthy city was Zimbabwe, which was situated halfway between West Africa and East Africa. Zimbabwe played the role of the middleman or broker for the trading of gold and ivory from the west coast, where the gold was mined, and traders in the east coast, where people bought and exported the gold. That role made Zimbabwe a very rich and successful city. An estimated 1 ton of gold was extracted a year from the gold mine in the west. Half the gold coins in Europe and around the world were made from African gold. Two activities that emerged were gold mining and trading or brokerage. The king's palaces and surrounding buildings in the city of Zimbabwe were also renowned for their beauty. The population of Great Zimbabwe was around 15,000 at its peak. The palace buildings and walls were renowned for their ingenuity and beauty. It was built from stone without mortar and structured to facilitate security as high as a 4-story building. Cattle livestock was reared to accumulate wealth by the rich, and elephant tusks generated great wealth for the king, who was entitled to half the tusks sold. Zimbabwe also imported Ming porcelain goods, which were plates and crockeries, from China. These wonderful buildings and the structures were designed and engineered by Africans. About 40 tons of ivory were exported from the Swahili coast every year. Archaeological evidence showed that there were great architecture and technological developments in Africa during the Middle Ages. The development of the ability to learn, read, and communicate showed that there was civilization in Africa and among Africans long before the colonialists came. We go to the Benin Empire. Civilization in West Africa ignited artistic revolution. Benin City in Nigeria, before it was invaded in 1897, was the center of the kingdom that spread over 20,000 square miles, with the Oba's royal palace in the center. Benin became famous worldwide for the Benin bronzes, a collection of bronze statues discovered by archaeologists. Oba Oware the Great was responsible for the works of the art during the 15th century. He also rebuilt the city as a stronghold to protect the city, keep out the forests, and develop the arts industry. Quarters were built for his craftsmen who were known as servants of the king. The carvings portrayed life and victories of the Oba and his army. Benin honored both their victorious warriors and defeated enemies by creating artwork depicting them. Unfortunately, some of the defeated enemies were beheaded. That is war in Africa. The bronze statues also captured the arrivals of the Portuguese, who eventually were responsible for the decline of the empire. The Portuguese came to Africa under the guise of traders and missionaries, but had their own agenda. They came to exploit, take control of trade, and plunder the Africans. Portuguese Captain Francisco Almada in 1511 brought 500 soldiers in 11 ships and attacked Kilwa when the Sultan refused to agree to his surrender. They bombarded the city and brought about the destruction of Kilwa. But they made the mistake of wanting to control trade instead of taking political control of the city. This resulted in the decline of trade in the East Coast. The Portuguese were pirates who came to plunder and disrupt East Africa. The invasion of Kilwa led to her decline in the Pacific trade, and the Portuguese failed in their bid to control the Pacific trade. They came to disrupt and destroy an efficient trade system and lifestyle that had been successful for centuries. However, they had other agendas, which was to spread Catholicism in Africa. They started and ended with Ethiopia, with a letter from the King of Portugal. Prester John, the legendary leader of Ethiopia, proposing a military alliance with him in the hope that he might be able to reverse the progress of Islam in Africa. Obviously, Islam had made great strides in spreading through Africa since the 6th century through wars, education, and trade across the Sahara. The alliance worked for about a century because Ethiopia was trying to reinforce Christianity against Islam, as well as discovering and establishing embassy with Portugal and Europe. Ethiopia became expansionist because they want to combat Islam and spread Christianity. So they seek Portugal as an ally and started aggressive invasion against the neighboring Muslim sultanates. They were successful for a short while, but came up against the strong resistance that threatened her people and Christianity. The result was the emergence of the Muslim Sultanate of Ada by the end of the 14th century. This resulted in conflict over Ada between Ethiopia and Ada for the religious and trade dominance. The Portuguese helped Ethiopia gain a short dominance in the region. That ended in near catastrophe for Ethiopia when the Sultanate fought back. What Ethiopia thought was aid from the Portuguese to establish Christianity was in fact Portugal's drive to establish their own religion of Catholicism and gain Ethiopia's obedience or subjugation to the Pope. A complete misunderstanding between Portugal and Ethiopia. The point of conflict between the two countries was Jesuit Portuguese Catholicism against Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity. However, the Ethiopians and Portuguese Jesuits armies, through misunderstanding that they were fighting for a common purpose, managed to join forces and defeat Ada in 1543, thus saving the Christian kingdom. The Portuguese Catholic Christian missionaries wanted to convert the Ethiopian Orthodox Christians to their own form of Christianity through the help of Susenyos, who outlawed Orthodox Christianity. But powerful Ethiopian Orthodox Christians were having none of it and resisted. The clergy and people of Ethiopia resisted converting to Catholicism. The resistance resulted in a catastrophic, bloody civil war which lasted 5 years at massive loss of lives. Susenyos lost and abdicated to his son Fasilides in 1632, who reinstated Orthodox Christianity and expelled the Portuguese Jesuits from the Ethiopian courts, then expelled them from the country. This failed attempt by the Portuguese to convert Ethiopia's faith turned out to be a blessing for Ethiopia because it provided them with an early experience of what colonialism would be like. The Ethiopians decided that foreign rule was not for them, and they were never colonized. However, religious division within Ethiopian Christians persisted for years until Fasilides used great architecture and symbols to create a new city that unified his nation. The city Ganda was built on the northern shores of Lake Tanya, which lasted to the end of the 18th century. Ganda, a massive defensive castle, expanded to become the largest city in East Africa, with a population of 20,000 and over 44 churches and a city of culture and arts. The rise of the sophisticated cities and civilizations on the Swahili coast, Great Zimbabwe, Benin City, and Ganda was an indication of Africa's continuing engagement of Europe, and Asia reinforced a permanent place in the history of Africa and the world. Before I summarize, I invite you to relax and enjoy the song I composed as an appeal to fathers not to give up their children, no matter what. This song is very special to me because I was accompanied by 2 young men, my son Aaron Bunton Cole of Dash Beats on bass, drums, and piano apps, and a brilliant keyboardist from Sierra Leone, Solomon Fatoma of Solos Beats on electric piano and organ. Relax now and enjoy Bunton's Groove.
When I think about my babies, oh, my heart fills with so much love. I just can't imagine living without them. So, fathers of the world, your children need you. Give up. Heal them with your love. I say, love them, fathers. They need you so much. I know you're hurting mothers, 'cause you've been through so much. Think about your children and don't let it put you down. Love them, mama. Don't lose your way. Brothers, stay in their lives, 'cause they need you, they want you, they love you, brothers. in their lives. They've got no one to turn to. Without you in their lives, they've got no one to turn to. No security to protect them. No light in the light, I see. Come to your girls. Fathers, brothers, I said listen. Care for your boys, 'cause they need you so much. Without you, they're lost. Love them.
I love this song so much that I named it after me. I hope you enjoyed it. To summarize, I'll just remind you that we have looked at the great cities that emerged and thrived between the 11th and the 16th centuries, the era of the spread of the new religions of Islam and Christianity, gold and arts in Africa, and the coming of the Portuguese to Africa. Next week, we'll look at the influence of the Portuguese and the Atlantic slave trade. Until then, avoid loud and aggressive persons, for they are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than you. Accept that, and you will be at peace. Until next week, I'll see you.
Modern law and business stronger. Father law